Before we begin, let's take a few moments to worship the Supreme One, the infinitely compassionate One, the Truth Seeker, the Tathagata, by chanting Namaskar 3 times all together and with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Oh, I'll start by saying happy Sri Lankan and Tamil New Year's to everyone. It is, I think we, in the monastery at least, we had a massive celebration. And it was great to see so many people come and not only get the blessings of the Mahasangha, but also engage themselves in various meritorious deeds. And overall, I think the New Year's was a very interesting time. But it got me thinking. So I remember growing up, when I first got to hear about these traditions, one tradition which we used to always ask, right, which was really confusing for me, but it seems it was just a normal thing. And that is, in the New Year's, we get, it's a tradition that they wear new clothes for the New Year. And I remember the first day I heard this, the first question I asked the person who told me was, is that the only day they wear new clothes? Or is that the day where people buy new clothes and that's the only day, so it's a special event? And the person said, no, it's just something they do in the New Year's. Which got me thinking, and when we went to the New Year's, I thought about this. When you go to a shop, right, let's say a clothes shop, and you find a pair of good clothes, and you know there's these rooms, right, where you go and you fit these clothes on. When you fit these clothes on, what do you feel? You look in the mirror and you see yourself, you see your reflection, and you see yourself wearing, let's say, these new clothes. What do you feel? If it looks good, you think, oh, it looks really good. If it doesn't look good, we think, oh, it's not really good. But when you wear it, do you think it's yours? Do you think I'm wearing my new, this is what I'm going to be wearing for the New Year's. This is my New Year clothes. Or do we think, oh, I'm buying some clothes for the New Year? As in, when we wear those clothes for the first time in the New Year's, don't they feel different? Right, you wear, say, these clothes that you've bought, and on the New Year's Day, you wear these clothes, which you already tried on in the shop. You feel it to be so different, so different. Where does that difference come from? Another one is, let's say you are making, say, some sweets. I'll take an example. Let's take you're making some oil cakes, some cows. If just after you've made it, if you eat it, what do you feel? Oh, I just had some oil cakes. But doesn't it taste or doesn't it feel different when you're all sat around a table, right, with it all in a bowl, right? Doesn't it feel different? Even though both times on the New Year's Day you're eating it, and when you've made it, you've eaten it, doesn't that feel different? Another example is, let's say I give you cake today, right? Say today for your midday alms, you have cake. And let's say on your birthday, someone gives you cake. I give you cake. Don't those two pieces of cake, although they may be the same, let's say, let's have, let's say I made both those cakes, right? And they're the exact same cake, right? They're both chocolate cake. However, one cake I give before and one cake I give on your birthday. Don't those two pieces of cake feel different? They taste the same, they smell the same, but they feel different. How is that? So, we passed Easter. Easter is a time where, for children at least, it's a time where they go hunting for chocolate eggs. You give them a chocolate egg before Easter or after Easter, they feel, oh, this is chocolate. But during Easter, oh, it's Easter. These, I'm eating these chocolate eggs on Easter. Now, those chocolate eggs taste different. It is from the same company, taste the exact same, but the feeling is different. On any day, on any of these so-called special days, you do mostly the same thing that you do any time of the year. You wake up, right? But when you wake up on a special day, don't you feel a difference? Don't you feel that, I'm waking up, say, on the 1st of January. It's a new year. Doesn't that feel different? But on a random day, let's say the 23rd of August, you wake up. Same thing, same process, waking up. But it doesn't feel the same. Do you see that, we try very hard, or our mind tries very hard to make something feel special, something to feel different. It works really hard. For example, right, eating chocolates on a normal day feels normal. But eating chocolates on Valentine's Day, receiving flowers on Valentine's Day, now that feels what? So special. Someone gives you a bunch of flowers. That's okay. But when someone gives you a bunch of flowers on Valentine's Day, now what? That's a completely different feel. Don't we have to artificially make, receiving flowers or eating chocolate or doing anything is the same feeling if you do it on any other day. However, on a special day, it feels special. That is something that our mind had to artificially make, right? It's not something that's, in the object. For example, does chocolate know what day it is? Is the consumer eating it on a January, on a February? Am I eating on Valentine's Day? Am I eating on Easter? Am I eating on your birthday? Does the chocolate know that? The chocolate really doesn't know what day it is. It doesn't even know it's expired. Except you feel that it's different. You feel this difference. That's something that our mind has to artificially do. And, what helps it is its environment. For example, for the monastery, the New Year's is just, for me at least, is just another day. Trust me, the only time I remembered it was New Year's is when someone said, oh, we got New Year's coming up. However, for people living outside the monastery, they every time they walk out, they hear these these so-called New Year songs, right? They're seeing on shops these discounts, New Year discounts, right? They hear, they can smell the smell of these new sweets, these oil cakes, these cookies, and all these smells, and they're relating it all, and they're saying, "Oh, New Year's is coming! New Year's is coming!" And it becomes such a special thing. Right? They have to go shopping to buy new clothes, and therefore, when they go, they see these signs saying, "Oh, this is the time. This is the auspicious time that you have to light the stove. And you're constantly given, these stimulus to remind you that, the New Year's coming. So for me, in other countries, you see this more in, say, in the start of November. No, yeah, around start of November you see this. Because when November comes near, then you see ads saying, the Christmas sale is now on. Everything is 25% off. Right? This is the biggest sale in history. Reminding you that Christmas is coming. Reminding you that, they'll put snow. It's funny because some countries, during Christmas, it doesn't snow. But when you say Christmas, the feeling you get is what? It's snowing. Like I remember in my time in the UK, we rarely had a white Christmas. It rarely snows on Christmas. But that one year it snows, people are partying, saying, oh, it's Christmas. See, that's a feeling, an artificial feeling that our mind had to make. It's an artificial feeling that the mind had to make. Like when it's, let's say, the start of October, right? You go around, if you go around town, you see decorations of what? Skeletons, pumpkins, right? Because we're coming closer to what? Halloween. And so, and again, say something like Valentine's. Closer you come to Valentine's, you see everything turn red, right? Or pink, heart shapes, right? Normally it would just say sale, but this time it says sale and a heart. Reminding you what? Valentine's Day. And therefore our mind feels. Now, I'm not against any of this, right? We're never against this. But this feeling that we have of something being special, this is something the mind has made. This is something the mind feels that is not there in reality. It's not there in reality. Apart from humans and calendars, who else knows that, we just passed the New Year's? Who else knows that we're coming towards Vesak? Who knows? Who else knows? Apart from humans and calendars. See, even humans, sometimes we don't even know what day it is. We use calendars to make sure we know what day it is. So apart from humans and calendars, who else knows that, your birthday is coming up? Does your own house know that your birthday is coming up? No, this is something that we have to make ourselves. And we have to do so much to make us feel this. We have to do so much. But in reality, no matter what, we are doing the same things. Our senses take the same information. A good example would be, growing up, on your birthday is one of the most special days of the year. I remember, not just myself, but I know my sisters and my friends and all these people, they would, on the day before their birthday, they cannot go to sleep. It's impossible to go to sleep. Because they know that tomorrow is their birthday, and so, especially on these special days, like say for example on Christmas, I remember my parents, it's a holiday, so they'll be in bed resting. But the children in the house, they cannot rest. They go running, jumping, right? They'll slam doors open and closed, trying to wake the entire house up so they can enjoy a holiday. So on a birthday, children can't go to sleep the day before, and they wake up early. It's funny, right? Sometimes waking up a child to go to school is next to impossible. Right? It's next to impossible. Parents will know this. You wake them up and say, son, it's now 6, wake up. They'll be like, Mom, 5 more minutes. And that 5 minutes, they go to sleep. And then again, after 5 minutes, you go. See, it's not just children who have this. Parents also have this. I remember I was talking to a certain individual, and they told me it takes them. They have a minute-by-minute alarm. A minute-by-minute alarm. So if they had to wake up at, say, 6:30, they have alarm at 6, 6:15, 6:20, 6:21, 6:22, 6:23, 6:24, 6:25. Minute by minute. But when you say, tomorrow is your birthday, now do you have to artificially go to your son or daughter and go, wake up, it's your birthday? No, they wake up before you and they come up to you and go, it's my birthday. But that feel, it is just another day. Now, I'm not trying to depreciate the value of your birthdays. I mean, birthday is your birthday, but it is just another day. However, the mind feels what? No. It's different. There's something different about my birthday. The world spins a bit differently on my birthday. But if you look at it, everyone will have a birthday some day of the year. So the world will always spin differently then, right? When on my birthday, the birds were chirping. No, the birds chirp every day. It's just you've noticed something special on your birthday because you're hoping for something special. You're hoping for something special. But in reality, New Year's, Easter, Christmas, Valentine's, these are all what? Feelings in the mind. A mental, it's a mental feeling that our mind has placed. So, that's why, still, we feel that, it's the New Year's, right? Like, for example, in the monastery, you'll hear, in the distance, people lighting crackers and fireworks and whatnot, right? In the middle of the night and during the day as well. I don't know why people light fireworks in the middle of the day. You can't see them, but they still do. Because why? They want this New Year's feeling. A feeling that is made in the mind, mind-made. A feeling that is mind-made. So I really want you to think about this. I really want you to really think about what is truly happening. Because the thing is, what happens is, every time you feel that, today's a special day, that reinforces a view. For example, right, let's say you get told that, all right, so it's a Sri Lankan New Year. And you get the view that this is a very special time. And then when you look around, this view gets stronger. This view becomes stronger because you look around and people are saying, oh, look, 50% off all clothes for the Sri Lankan New Year's. And you see that people are really excited for this. And therefore, this value increases. And then on the day, because whenever there is a view of pleasure, whenever you attach yourself to a view of pleasure, what is the next thing that happens? What's the next thing that the mind feels? They feel this mental vexation, this mental pressure. And so on the day, no matter what happens, that vexation is what? Relieved. When that vexation is relieved, what happens to this view? It strengthens. So next year you're looking forward for it more. Next year you want to make it better. That's why first year, if you only set off one firework, next year you're trying to set off 2. If last year you only had your close family members, next year you want more. Why? Because you want to make this feel feel as very special. And luckily, this is a time where, family members come together. So for some people, this is the time, this is the one day of the year that they get to see the rest of their family. Which is pretty much a shame, but they want to make this feel really special. Now again, I have nothing against the Sri Lankan New Year. It's an amazing time. You have lots of things. But I want you to, I really understand, where does that value come from? Why do I feel this to be special? Because once you feel this to be special, now if someone was to do something against this, now what do you feel? So for example, someone on the day, on this New Year's Day, they come up to you, it's now banned. You're not allowed to set fireworks at the New Year's Day. Now what do you feel? It's going against your views. So you feel, I don't like this. Let's sign a petition saying that, no, we want to have fireworks on this day. Or if someone's doing something for you, right, that's going along with your view, now what? You think about how amazing it is, and you further grip onto this. Now, this is the same for everything. Every single time someone gives you a view, you hold it really close to you. See, this is just a day. What about things? Now, coming back to the clothes, where we started. When you buy clothes and you put it on and you put those clothes on in the fitting rooms, right? The fit-on rooms. You are wearing those clothes, of course, to check in the mirror. But you have this idea that these clothes aren't yours yet. But once you buy them, you are also going to be what? Wearing those clothes. But this time you feel what? These are mine. So what is the difference? What is the difference? You wearing these clothes on this fit-on room. I mean, there's a difference in you haven't bought it yet. Society will say that you haven't bought it yet, but for your mind, because your mind can only do certain things. Your mind can only see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. There's nothing more your mind can do. Can only see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and think. So this idea that when you wear these clothes for the first time, this in the fit-on room, this feeling of this doesn't belong to me. And then when you wear them, when you buy them and you wear it for the first time in New Year's at home, these are my clothes. Does your mind know that? Does your eyes know that? Does your ears know that? So if you were to wear your clothes on the Sri Lankan New Year for the first time, does your eyes know it's Sri Lankan New Year, and these are your new clothes? Or let's say back on the fitting rooms, you're wearing them for the first time. Does your eyes know that it doesn't belong to you? Does your ears know it doesn't belong to you? Does your nose know it doesn't belong to you? So really, at what point do those clothes belong to you? Now, it's very easy to say, well, it's at the point of purchase, right? The point of you purchasing it. Going to the cashier, right, and saying that, I want to buy these clothes, and the cashier will, use the scanner and scan it and go beep. That'll be X amount of money. You pay the cashier, and then it's yours. But if you were to gift those clothes to someone else, you buy those clothes. Say mothers are going to buy clothes for their children. So when they buy it, when they purchase it, those clothes belong to them. But when they gift it to the child, those clothes now belong to the child. what is the difference that the clothes feel? What is the difference that the t-shirt feels? Does the t-shirt feel any difference? All right. Okay, let's have my amazing artwork. Right? It's t-shirt. Right? Just in case no one can understand that, it's a t-shirt, right? T-shirt. At the shop. T-shirt in the shopping bag. T-shirt at home. T-shirt in your child's cupboard. Did I draw anything different about the t-shirt? What changed in the t-shirt? What changed in the t-shirt? Like what thread? Like, do we have to like remove a certain thread and say, okay, that's a shop. That's when you take it home. That's when it's in the bag, and that's when it's when you put it into your child's cupboard. Does a thread change? Does what part of the t-shirt changes? None of it. Every time you change this, and you can change who it belongs to. So it's in the child's cupboard. So it was first a shopkeeper's. Well, even before that, it first belonged to a factory, then a shopkeeper. Then it belonged to mother, because the mother bought it. Then it belonged to the child. The child decides not to wear it too often, right? And it's in really good condition, so they resell it, right, on eBay. They resell it. Now it's B's cupboard. B looks at it, they've bought it, and they think, you know what? I think this t-shirt would be really good if I gift it to my child. Now B's child's cupboard. The B's child doesn't also wear it too often and decides to donate to charity. Now who does it belong to? Charity. Charity to someone else, to someone else, to someone else, until this t-shirt is unwearable. But apart from time decaying the t-shirt, what else happens to the t-shirt when it goes from person to person? Does anything happen to it? But then why do we feel that this used to belong to the factory, then to the shop, then to mother, to child, to eBay, to B's child? That feeling of changing this ownership, is it in the t-shirt? Or is it in one's own mind? It's a feeling in our own mind. This feeling that this is my t-shirt is a feeling that's in our own mind. This t-shirt doesn't know it. Not a single thread knows that it belongs to someone. But we feel that this has a story, that this is mine. That's a feeling that the mind has. Not really part and parcel of the t-shirt. That's why if someone came and stole it, right? Let's say one day it's a really good t-shirt, someone comes and steals it, right? Steals it from you. Does the t-shirt complain and say, wait, you don't own me, this person owns me? And does the t-shirt like walk back to its owner? No, because the t-shirt doesn't know. Because in reality, this t-shirt doesn't belong to anyone. The idea of belonging is something that's in our head. This idea that this is my t-shirt, or this is his t-shirt, her t-shirt, is all in our minds. And that comes from this idea that, we are able to, this is something that's separate from all other t-shirts. This is something that's different from all other t-shirts because it belongs to someone. Like, for example, when you're in the shop and you see, these t-shirts, say there's 15 t-shirts in the shopping aisle, right, on the hangers. Those you don't feel to be different. But once you take one out and you think this looks really good and I want to wear that t-shirt's now different from all the rest. That t-shirt becomes, this is going to be my t-shirt. This is going to be my t-shirt. Now, this feeling of this being separate is what causes us to really feel. So if someone was to, you're wearing this t-shirt, and someone comes and spills their drink on you, right? For example, we know that stains on a good t-shirt, stains are horrible. I know, let's say for example, if you're wearing a white t-shirt and you spill coffee on it, it's time to get a new t-shirt, right? Because once you stained it, you feel, oh no, it's ruined. It's funny because I remember I used to know someone who used to take clothes, especially white t-shirts, put rubber bands and rocks and whatnot and do something, and then dip it into coffee to get a coffee-stained t-shirt. And they used to wear that with pride. But when we drop coffee on our t-shirts, we think, my day is ruined. Now I have to, you go to, go to the toilet and you start rubbing it out, seeing if it comes off. No, but the yellow patch is always going to be there. Yellow-brown patch is always going to be there. And now your day is ruined. But the person who uses to decorate their clothes, wear this t-shirt with pride. So again, it's not whether what happens to the t-shirt that makes you feel upset. It's this idea that this is a separate t-shirt. This is your t-shirt. This is your t-shirt. And when something happens to your t-shirt, according to your views, if something happens that is good, you're happy. So for example, if your husband or your wife takes your t-shirt and washes it and it comes back in a pristine condition, you're not really happy. But let's say, instead your say a small child finds it, your child finds it, right, and decides to wear it and stretches the neckline and falls into mud and has mud stains on it now. Now you're happy or sad? Now you're pretty angry with the child for ruining a perfectly good t-shirt. This idea of, this used to be this, now like this. That is also a part of this feeling of this separate feeling. Again, another part of the mind. You see, I'll explain this in a bit, right? This idea of difference. Before we get into that, I really want to show you that understanding the Dhamma, understanding these concepts, makes you feel so much more free, so much more relaxed. Because now you realize that this is just a t-shirt. I can wear it, right? If it's dirty, I can wash it. But if something happens to it, it's okay. Now, this is why it is incredibly, incredibly relieving to understand the reality of the world. So I did promise all of you that I was going to show you a video today, right? And I will, and I will. I want to show a video of some of our children from other countries. So for those of you who may not know, in our monastery, we have a program. We have several online programs which are entirely for children. So one of our main programs is Siumaga. And some of our other programs are like Mind Lab and various other different programs that young children, right? And you'll see these young children, some of these young children, who would come in every week or every 2 weeks, and they'll have discussions with our monks. Now, those of you who've been at the monastery for such a long time will know how how amazing it is to understand the Dhamma, and how amazing it is to have to have teachers that can teach you all this. And so something that we do in our monastery is these doctrines, these nyayas. Some monks have started doing nyayas with these young children, right? And I only have, there were so many to choose from, right? But we won't have enough time to show all of them. So we'll show as many as we possibly can. So probably about 3. Because I want you to see the difference the Dhamma has made on these lives. Right? From such a small age. I think there are some videos of children who were, barely 8 or 9. Right? I don't think they look too old. But they're giving this doctrine very nicely. So some of them, they're very new to this. So they have these points written down. Right? Trying to, have points written down to give this message to their fellow friends. So can we have one of our videos?
Today I'm going to talk about a different type of happiness that is all about giving. I watched a sermon about it. So first let's start this doctrine by talking about the 3 different types of people. So people who keep everything for themselves are selfish. People who give half of their stuff to other people are ordinary people, and people who give all what they have to other people are extraordinary people. I'll give you an example. There was a wise teacher, and he lived in an amazing house. It had tiled floors and with concrete ground, and intricately carved windows coated in glistening white paint, and a stained glass ceiling full of colour, and an enormous gold gate encrusted with sparkling rubies. Now a monk, who was the teacher's student, crossed his house, and the teacher immediately said, "Child, please take my house." The monk took it and lived in it, while the wise teacher ended up living in a mouldy house full of moths and a very damp floor, and it was falling apart. But the wise teacher was very happy because he knew that happiness is not about how much you have, but about how much you give. Cause and effect. Many causes can also be effects. Let me show you an example.
You've seen this before, right? The pen?
This can be a pen, but when I put all the causes together in a certain way, it looks like a pen. But if I take these bits off and put it a different way, it isn't going to be a pen anymore. This isn't going to be a pen, because a pen is a pen only if all of these causes are put together in a certain way.
Now, okay, so the first part you can say was read out, right? I think she was. So this is Siumaga, our Siumaga, I think UK, done by our most venerable Nisabha. And so you can say the first part was, she had written it down because she didn't want to make any mistakes. But the second part, talking about cause and effect, did she look at a piece of paper? See, these so-called, these may seem to be such really big topics, cause and effect, separation and whatnot. But these young children are grabbing these. And of course, Mr. Bahadur has told me various stories about the sort of things they do. At such a young age, I think she's 9, maybe 8. Right? Talking about cause and effect, talking about the true nature of reality. Causes come together. Like she used a pen, something that even our monks, our anagarikas, Shravikas, we all use to show the anichcha nature, this nature of causes come together. Because for example, the T-shirt. The only reason why we feel this to be different is because we don't see it to be anicca. We don't see it to be cause and effect. We see it to be, no, this is just a pen. Not that, parts have to come together. For as long as the parts are together, we have a pen. If the parts aren't in the right way, like beautifully said by herself, if the parts are in the wrong way, we can't call it a pen, even though the parts are there. You see, at such a young age, they are extremely lucky. I think, our young children are one of the most luckiest people alive. Learning about these concepts at such a young age. And not only that, they're using it, they're applying it. Can we have our second one?
Okay. So, for a couple of for our ages, we've had discussions about Dhamma and so on. And I want to discuss, and what I'm talking about is cause and effect, and I want to discuss more details about further details about cause and effect. We feel that causes and effects is where that we add causes which create effect, not a fixed thing or entity. I don't know if I'm correct, but no, actually the causes is basically the effect. Let's take this flower. Now, the flower has causes like the stem, the petals, and etc. We say that when you add the causes together, it creates effect which is called a flower. Actually, when you add the causes, it creates effect which is called Actually, when you add put together the causes, the effect is not fully made. It is still constantly being made. So this flower is still being made. So it's not it won't finish. So it's still constantly being made. So this, not as planting, but this is still flowering. Not as you're planting, but as this constantly being made, it won't finish, but it's still flowering. So that's why everything and the flower and everything is energy aggregates.
So another one. So at such a young age, right, being blessed to be able to listen to such talks by our monks and our anagarikas, and they're able to comprehend such deep topics. And I'm not saying that they understand 100%, of course. And neither do we, right? If we understood 100%, we would be what? Arahants. But they have started to grasp an understanding. One more, and I'll tell you the importance as well. One more.
Like sometimes you try to get rid of your attachment or your attachment, but you try, but you can't do that. Just as I said in the beginning, you can first contemplate that there is no color in it. And if you contemplate and if you keep contemplating, then you see like I told you, like a dull door. But then it makes a sound and you like the sound. Then you have to contemplate that the sound is in your mind. And out in the outside world, there's only vibrations. And then it makes it for example, then if you still can't get rid of your attachment, the only way is to think that the whole world is cause and effect. Or anichcha. As the whole, if you keep contemplating on that, you will see everything as causes. And maybe one of the causes can be an effect to something else. Like for example, I'll take my water bottle. This water bottle, the causes of the water bottle is the cap, the bottle, and the I don't know what this thing is called, this thing. And maybe if I take this out and okay, now I take one of the causes out. This cause, it can be a effect to something else. It can be the effect to this part and this part. So you can see that everything in the world is a cause and it can also be an effect at the same time. So if you keep contemplating on that, you can also think that the door is a combination of the dress, the mouth, and all the other parts of the doll. And then you see them as the different parts. And you do not like different parts of the doll. You only like the doll. So then you can get rid of your attachment quite easily because you do not like the dress of the doll when you don't have a doll. So that's how you get rid of your attachment. Now I'm going to explain more about cause and effect. Now, as I said, the whole world can be a cause. No, not the whole world. Some things can be a cause and be the effect at the same time. So it doesn't mean that only one cause and that it's only a cause. It can also be effect. Now, don't ever think that if it's the effect, oh, this is only the effect, it's not a cause. If it's a cause, don't ever think that it's a cause only, it can't be effect. Just as I showed you in my water bottle, as you see, the cap can be first for the water bottle, the cap is a cause. But when I take it out and I show you the two parts, then it can be an effect of the two parts. So you can see that nothing in the world is everything in the world is causes and can be an effect at the same time. As last time I showed, I took out my pen. As you can see, there is 4 parts and this is a cause of the pen. But then if you take it out, I can actually take this part out and it can be a cause of this. It can be, last time it was a cause of the pen. Now it is the effect of this part. So you can see that I showed you in 2 examples that everything is a cause and can be an effect at the same time. So if you want to get rid of your attachment, you can contemplate on that. And as first, if you can get rid of your attachment just from thinking that it's all dull colors, you only like vibrant colors, you have nothing else from it, you can just contemplate on that and it will be much easier. But if you can't, just as I said, you can contemplate on what I just said, that the whole does is a cause and can be an effect at the same time. As I have said in my last time, Nyaya, I have explained that the whole world is causes and effects. Now I know that last time I thought that everything is only a cause. Now I know that it can be a cause and effect at the same time. So if you contemplate on that, you can get rid of most of your attachments. Like, I think all of attachments, because the whole world is cause and effect.
I mean, she can do a sermon. I might as well step down and let her take my role. These are the future, right? We have many more, but I don't want to show all of them, or else we're gonna run out of time. Because I want to tell you this importance of this, because these young children are learning these. Now, they're very fortunate, and after this, I had to cut out the extra parts, but the monks and the rest of the people will be asking questions, right? Trying to get them stuck somewhere, right? So they can explain further. And they are, there are so many young children who are starting to give these nyayas, these doctrines about the reality of the world. They're talking about very small concepts, but if you remember, one of them talked about a door that she liked. She's looking at it with cause and effect. Now, if someone was to say she was to drop the door and doors to break, now instead of crying, what does she think? It's cause and effect. Causes come together in this way now. Now she isn't going to be sad. She's not going to start crying. Instead, she's going to accept the world for what it is. Very lucky, very lucky. And this is very important, because, I was very fortunate for that during the last week, I was able to meet a certain individual. Several people, but especially the one that I remember the most is that I got to meet a really old, I think he's in his 60s or 70s, right? One of our monks, when he was younger, he used to always, whenever his parents weren't at home, this was his uncle and aunt would be there and would look after him just as though that they were there, as though he was their own child. But I got to meet him, and unfortunately, he has, I think, dementia, and it seems like as though he may have Alzheimer's and whatnot. And his wife was explaining this to him, explain this to us, how he was really good, right? He had, he was about to, he had only 2 years to retire, and the wife was saying, we're planning after retire, we're gonna listen to the Dhamma and get engaged with, do lots of merits and whatnot. But Saranatha, just before he retired, he started getting these symptoms, right? He started to forget things. Started to, he would run outside when it's raining heavily, and when she asked him, "Why are you outside?" He says, "I don't know. I don't know," because he can't understand what's happening at that moment. And after having discussion with our monks, one of the most dangerous things in this world, one of the most dangerous, you can almost say it's a disease, but it's not really a disease. It's not contagious in the sense of bacteria or viruses. But one of the most dangerous things in this world is loneliness. There are several studies that show that loneliness is a major contributor to certain health issues. Again, depression, anxiety, but also more physical ones, as dementia. It speeds up Alzheimer's. They say that people who feel people who are lonely, who feel lonely all the time, they have a higher risk of I think, statistically, they have a 30% chance to die prematurely. right? They have a higher chance of getting like cardiovascular diseases like heart attacks, strokes, and whatnot. Now, I had a really good discussion with some of our monks, and a really, really important thing that came up is this idea of growing old. Because our bodies will grow old. But what about our minds? Do our minds age the same way our body ages? Do our mind age the same way our body ages? No, our minds are they are fresh as fresh could be. They are made at this very moment. The moment I make a sound, a mind arises, and then it passes away. But as we grow older, right, as we go, and as we start growing really old, what happens is our body is less cannot do the same things it could do before. It can't do the same things it could do before. And when they become really old, then they're bedridden by themselves. When we see young children, when mothers see their young child, when they see something wrong with their child, they do whatever they can to help the child. But when someone grows too old, we don't see it to be much of an issue. That is just, that's how they are. When you grow old, you start to forget. That's just how it is. Because as we grow old, what seems to happen is, people feel more and more lonely. They're by themselves. Now, when they're by themselves, what happens is, biologically what happens is, we don't like feeling alone. Now, they say this is because, in the past, we used to be together with lots of people, right? Like they call it almost an evolutionary trait, that we used to be together with people. And therefore, the feeling of being alone meant you will die, right? And so this feeling of being alone is something that our brains have rejected. Therefore, it starts to feel stressed. And therefore, certain organs in the body, like the adrenal glands, will send these hormones and whatnot to constantly get our body ready to do something. Right? And there's hormones like cortisol, which is basically one of the main hormones that will come when you feel stressed. And they say that once you feel stressed and you feel this loneliness, and you constantly feel this will increase blood pressure, this will increase heart rate, and get your body ready for something. And this constant pressure on the body will start to make the body degrade faster. And it can also change things like genes, and therefore people who are lonely are likely to have cancer and whatnot. Now that's the body. I want to talk about the mind. Because as we go older, we're not able to do the same things that we used to. We may not be able to, go places that we want to. We may not be able to do things that we want to. However, our minds still desire these things. Just because our body grows old, our mind doesn't. Our mind is born at this very moment. And the problem with this is, let's say you're someone who loves going around and sightseeing. When you're too old and your knees don't work the way they used to, can you go and sightsee now? No, now you can't walk as much. Now you're stuck in a chair. You need someone to, if you want to do something and walk, you need someone's assistance. And so the mind starts to feel this massive pressure. The mind starts to feel with vexation. Have you heard that an idle mind is a devil's workshop? Because once you're alone, you're left to do what? you're left to just think. You're left to think by yourself. So normally, this is why, it's really, people who are alone are people who get really irritated a lot. Because they're by themselves thinking. Just thinking. They have nothing to do because they may not be able to walk. They may not be able to go places, visit friends. So they're by themselves and they can't do what they want to do. And therefore they're alone. Therefore their mind is thinking. They have the same wantings that they will always want to. For example, I was talking to one of our monks, and he said that his grandmother loves cooking. She finds it really incredibly hard to walk. But she wouldn't stop at all until she gets to the kitchen and tries to cook. She can't. She can't pick up bowls and mix, because her body is not letting her, but her mind is screaming, saying, pick up the bowl, stir. And when her body fails, gets incredibly annoyed, incredibly frustrated. More pressure. The mental pressure just keeps rising. And this is why you'll hear this a lot, that they will start complaining a lot. Not because they want to complain, because they feel the need to relieve this pressure. And so what they do, they start shouting. They say, normally married couples, they start, blaming the other person for not treating them right, or for the reason that they have to get rid of this pressure that they have inside. They want to get rid of this pressure, and therefore they'll try to do whatever they can. And this feeling of loneliness is actually, it's a physical pain. It can give rise to physical pain. It can give rise to physical pain. So it's an actual physical thing as well. Because the mind affects the body and the body affects the mind. Feeling all of this pressure. And this is why, because of this pressure, it changes the body. And therefore, they get, symptoms of dementia. They start to lose their memory. Like I know that talking to some other individuals, that they cannot live without having the TV on. They have to have the TV on because they want to feel what? That I have someone to talk to. That someone's talking to me. Because remember, the mind's ultimate goal is to feel what? Me. But if if they feel alone, no matter how hard people, no matter if people are coming and talk to them, if they don't feel that, I am being acknowledged, this is pain. This is mental suffering. And therefore, they start to feel, this incredible amount of suffering, of mental distress. This feeling of being alone. The problem is, once you get to that state, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing. So for example, if you have, if you feel like, if you have like symptoms of dementia and whatnot, there's very little we can do to reverse that. Once you feel a lot of pressure, it's very hard to go and reverse it. See, physical illnesses, they have medicines. You have a headache, you can take a paracetamol and it goes away. You have a stomachache, you take a medicine and that goes away. Right? You have a cough, take cough syrup, that goes away. But mental pain, mental suffering, what can you do? There's only one solution. That is the Dhamma. But they're now too old, they can't hear. They're too old, they can't go and visit the Dhamma. And of course, the way they brought up their children will also affect this. Unfortunately, kind of fortunately, but also unfortunately, I was able to. I had to go out with some of our monks to one of our monks' danis, right? Their mother and father, their mother and relatives have organized a dana for him, and their neighbors. Like in the middle of this dana, you can hear like someone scream, "Don't hit me!" Right? And we had to ask, is there something wrong? And we found that in the neighboring house, the son, who was 40 or something, in their 50s, was screaming and shouting and physically abusing who? Their father. Now we feel that can't be, because normally children won't do anything to their parents, right? But all you can hear from where we were sat was the father screaming, "Buddha amme, don't hurt me." Now, coming back to this feeling of being alone, this also is affected by your children, the environment that you've brought up your children. If you bring up children, being money driven, being goal driven, that become this, do this, and you'll be happy. If you're someone who was money driven, who was only searching for advantages for themselves, children also absorb that. And what happens is, once you become old, they no longer care. They'll look after you, maybe. But now they will now separate, because why? They're now what? Money driven. They're only looking for the advantages they get. So sometimes they will just ignore their old. But for this family, what has happened is the father used to come back from work and get really angry and take the anger out on the child. So when the child grew older and the father became bedridden, the child took advantage. See, the environment that you create will come back to you. What you give is what you get. See, this feeling of loneliness is one of the most harmful, I think, statistically, is one of the most dangerous things a person can feel. It's something that prematurely kills you, according to statistics. But we've come to just accept that, I am lonely. Because remember, the mind has attachments, has things it wants. The mind wants to do this, wants to do that. But once you grow old, you're not able to do all that. Someone who understands the Dhamma is able to understand their attachments, and using the Dhamma can get rid of these attachments. And therefore, when something happens, they're able to, accept it. But someone who doesn't understand the reality keeps on grabbing and holding on to things. That's why, old grandmothers, grandfathers always talk about, their grandchildren, trying to hold on to them dearly, hoping that they would give them the happiness, because they have views. Just because the body grows old, the mind is still as young as it always was. Technically, the mind is, the same mind they had when they were a teenager. When they were 30, the same mind. When they were a baby, the same mind. But now they're old. They are unable to do what they want to do. This is why the Dhamma is so important. This is why the Dhamma is incredibly important. This father wanted, this father that I was talking about that has dementia. They were planning that after he retires to come to monasteries and learn the Dhamma, but it's too late. He can't remember. You see, the Dhamma is, for physical illnesses and physical pain, you have medicines. But for mental ones, the only solution is understanding the reality, understanding the Dhamma, nothing else. Because only when you understand the Dhamma are you able to get rid of these attachments that you have. You're able to understand. This is why, when you are hard of hearing, people become really irritable. Because they cannot hear, but they want to hear. They cannot see, but they want to see. They cannot hear, but they can slightly see a mouth move. They want to know what that person is saying. Are they saying something about me? Are they planning to do something with me? You see, this is why the Dhamma is incredibly important. This is why, these young children are incredibly important. It's really important for them to understand the Dhamma. You see, this feeling of loneliness isn't something that just comes because of old age. Unfortunately, a study done, I think back in 2023, I think, found that the age group that feels the most alone is what? 65 plus? Lower. 40 plus? Lower. 30 plus? Lower. So according to this study, according to not just this study, several studies, they found that the age group that feels the most alone is, and I kid you not, 16 to 24 or 25. No, but we're so connected. We have these devices, we have social media, we're able to connect with so many people. But yet, we're a generation that feels so alone. This is why you see, so many young children nowadays, they are having so many problems in their lives. Now there are arguments that would say that, things like depression and whatnot, these mental illnesses are on us. They're increasing day by day. Some people argue it's because, there's more awareness and more people understand that they're feeling this. But also, not to forget that more young children are feeling alone, by themselves. We used to be a world where we always thought collectively about everyone else. Through our history, we've always been a collective culture, right? No matter where. Thinking about, back when we had tribes, thinking about their tribes, thinking about their group. But now we've gone from, we've gone from collective to individual. Only thinking about me. What am I going to do? How are people helping me? Not thinking about the collective, but thinking about individuals. And this is why, these young children from 16 to 24 are feeling more and more isolated, feeling more and more alone. You see, this feeling of alone doesn't mean that they're by themselves. It doesn't mean they're by themselves. For example, some people enjoy being by themselves. That's not being alone. Sometimes you could be with a large group of people but still feel alone. Because the feeling of being alone isn't about where or who you're associating. It is a feeling of the mind. If you don't understand the mind, well, then what can we do? If you're not able to understand your mind, then what can you do? This is why the Dhamma is so important. This is why these young children are so lucky. Now, I only just showed you 3. There are so many more who are understanding the mind, who are understanding why they feel what they feel. They are understanding about their attachment. This is why they are so lucky. So lucky. Because being this, the question you have to ask is, why do we do what we do? Why do we feel what we feel? If you can answer that and get rid of it, if it's something that you don't like, if you can get rid of it, that means you have a solution. But most of the time we have what? I have a problem, I don't know how to solve it. Right? I am stressed, I don't know how to get rid of it. Let me find a way to forget about it. Let me find a way to have a stress bigger than this, so I no longer feel this stress. That is what we do. Think about this, right? Because young children are feeling more and more, alone. They're turning towards, devices and social media to feel more connected. However, what they're doing is once they have social media and have this, what they're doing is they're spending more time alone to feel more connected. How does that work? They're spending more time alone by themselves, scrolling, looking at people smiling and enjoying life in their own room in a dark corner, just scrolling, feeling more connected. So whether you're old or whether you're young, it doesn't matter. We have to understand we have to understand who we are. We have to understand what is happening. What is happening to me? Why am I feeling what I'm feeling? Why am I sad? Why am I angry? Why am I feeling frustrated? Is it because of me? Is it because of them? Why do I feel that they've stolen my t-shirt? Why do I feel that they tore my t-shirt? Why do I feel that? Is that true? These are the questions we should be asking, because if we don't ask that, well, then we're hopeless. So many people are spending their time, just because they have to spend time. So many people just spend time just because they have time. They wake up and they think, okay, what can I do today? How can I spend this day so I can have the next day? How can I use this day so I can quickly go to the next day? Not thinking about how valuable that the time they have, how valuable that time is they have. Unfortunately, this is what life has come to it. We no longer want to think about, why am I feeling this? Instead, we want to think about, on this TV show, this is happening. Why is this happening to that person? Focused on something that's completely irrelevant. Trying to get rid of one's sadness by taking more things that will give you more sadness. That's the basic principle of life. When I'm sad, I want more things that will make me more sad. That is the basic principle of life. We don't question it. We just follow as blindly. Do this, of course. Do that, of course. Jump. What do you want me to do? I'm going to do it. This is the importance. And when you know this, the best thing is you're able to identify when it happens to you, but also when it happens to others. You understand people now. You understand they are angry. why they are angry, not because this happened, is because of their mental process. You understand, okay, they're feeling sad. They're feeling sad not because, their loved one dies, because of this mental process. How can I help them now? Now your eyes open to others. Because if you know that you have all this happen to you, you understand that other minds also have this. So you begin to look around. You know that if I feel lonely, that means other people also feel lonely. Now you look around. You understand if someone has this process inside of them, they need someone to listen. Now you listen to them. Do you know that 90% of all problems, I would even push it and say 95, can be solved if someone just listens. But we aren't. We want to do something. We want instead of listening, we want them to listen to us. Listen to me. I have got something important to say. Not recognizing that they also want to say something. Sometimes the best thing is just to keep quiet and listen. Let them speak. Let them get rid of all this, vent all this mental vexation out. The actual word for this is venting. You know how you vent something and, let things out? Let them vent it out. And then help them where it really matters. Show them what is really happening. By lending an arm, lending your hand. Help them. This is the beauty of it. Once you understand yourself, you're able to understand others. Once you understand, okay, I'm feeling angry, right, because of this process. Now you understand that if I feel angry, they feel angry. Why? Not because this person did this to them, because of this process they feel. Now you're able to observe. You're able to help. This is why how lucky these young children are. Now this is just 3. I think Siumaga we have over I think over 400 children, online and offline. I think if we took everything together, we probably have more than 500, maybe 600. Young children who are learning this, who are learning how to understand themselves, who are learning how to cope with their anger, to cope with their stress, not to cope, but to eradicate, to get rid. They are extremely lucky. Extremely lucky. So, if one of these young children are listening to this, carry on. Because they're going to help a lot of people. We have to stop thinking about ourselves and think about this, think about how or why our mind's suffering. Because once you understand why the mind suffers, it doesn't matter who's suffering, whether it's you or whether it's the person next to you, or whether it's a person on the opposite side of the world. Because it's all the same process. Just like a t-shirt doesn't know who it belongs to, your mind doesn't have, this process of the mind process doesn't belong to anyone. It is the same for you, me, for every single being. It's the same. The mind is the same. It's weird to think about it like this, but your mind, the mind that you call yours, and the mind that belongs to your pet, is different? No, works the same way, just a different in views, just a difference in ability. That's it. You take any being in this universe, their mind works the same way, because we know that minds with ignorance will always have what? So if there's a mind without ignorance, we know that, okay, if there's no ignorance here, if there is no wrong view here, that means output, they're not going to be suffering. But any being that has the wrong view will end up where? End up with mental vexation, mental suffering. So I really wanted to talk to you about how this disease of loneliness. See, again, it doesn't matter whether you are physically alone or if you're surrounded by millions of others. Loneliness is a feeling. And then, that's something that you see really, really rarely in the monastery. The feeling of being alone. You are alone, but you're not alone. You are alone because only you can help yourself, but you're not alone because other minds are there for your forever support. So the Dhamma is the only way to get rid of mental vexation, mental suffering. Dhamma, in other words, realizing the reality of the world. If we can't do that, unfortunately, the only thing that we can only inherit, if we don't know the workings of the mind, the only thing we can inherit is suffering. So I want to come back to the point that we're talking about, right? But I want to add to this as well. Now, this may seem really confusing, but I promise I will I'll keep helping you to understand this, because I think this is very important. If I was to ask you, what is your world? What is your world? What is your answer? Because it's very easy to say, my world is Earth. I live on Earth. I live on a small teardrop shape in the middle of the Indian Ocean, right? Called Sri Lanka. I live here. This is my world. But your world is actually what? Your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter, your house, your clothes. That's your world, right? The things that you're with, the people that you associate, right? That's your world, right? Your world is simply what you can perceive at this moment. What you can see right now, that is your world. What you can hear right now, that's your world. What you can smell, what you can taste, what you are thinking right now, that is your world. This is your world at this is your world. This moment. So if I was to draw now, this is what? This is your world. This is now part of your world. Now this is part of your world. This is your world now. There is nothing more than what you see or what you hear, what you smell, than what you sense. Apart from, okay, here's something that I really want you to understand. Apart from the things that you perceive right now, what else is there? Apart from what you perceive right now, what else is there? So everyone's facing forward, right? In your world, is there a wall behind you? In your world, is there a wall behind you? But you can say, if I turn around, oh, there's a wall. It's there. But when you're turning here, can you see the wall? Well, you can see this wall, but you can't see yours. Is there a wall behind you? I can't perceive this wall behind me. But when I turn around and it comes to my perception, that becomes my world. So basically, if I turn around and I don't look at you all, you're not in my world. But my memories will say, you're there. But are you there when I turn around? This is a really, really difficult concept to grasp. As in, if you take it very superficially, it's very easy. But when you come and you try to grasp the actual deep concept of it, it becomes really slippery because your mind is showing you, this is your world. Is there a wall behind me? No. But your feelings will scream and say, yeah, there has to be a wall behind you, because if you turn around there is a wall. If you had to go and, let's say, you're going to a shop, a clothes shop, to buy a t-shirt. You are going to the shop searching for a t-shirt. Which means, at this moment, you know what? That there's a shop that has a t-shirt. But at this moment, is there a shop with a t-shirt in it? We don't know. And for example, you go right now, you go to a shop and you look for a t-shirt, you find out that the shop is closed. But right now, do you think the shop is closed? No, you think there's a shop that has a t-shirt. There's a shop that has shoes. But at this moment, what can you actually perceive? Can you perceive a shop? Can you perceive a shoe shop or a clothes shop? Is in your world right now, is there a shoe shop or a clothes shop right now? However, you still feel that, if I take a left there, take a right there, if I walk a bit there, and that's my favorite shop. Where does that come from? That comes because there has to be what? A fixed, a separate, a valuable shop. If not, can you do? So, I want you to imagine something that you've never seen, that you've never heard of, that you've never smelled, you've never tasted, you've never touched. I would like you to imagine it. Can you? Something that you've never seen. I would like you to imagine something that you've never seen. Is it possible? Is it possible? We can't, because we have to see it, and then you can imagine. So if I was to tell you something like this, like, I would like you to imagine an elephant with tiger stripes. That we can do very easily. We can imagine an elephant and paint tiger stripes on it, and we can imagine that because we've seen both elephants and tiger stripes. But if I told you not to imagine something that you've never seen before, we can't do that. So the idea of going, so again, this is a very abstract idea, but this is something that we continuously hold on to very dearly. Is outside of my world, there is a different world. Outside my perception, there is a different world. So once this comes into your world, it's there. When it comes out of your world, you still feel it's not there, but over here. You still feel that, although you can't see it, the object is still here. But the object is a mental perception that your mind sees. It's a perception your mind sees. But you can say, but when you hold it out again, I can see the same pen. Is it the same pen though? Is it the same pen? I show you once, I show you again. Is it the same pen? To see the pen, what needs to be there? There has to be an arrangement of causes in some sort of way. Right? So if we take it in a very basic way, say atoms, right? There's an arrangement of atoms that are constantly, gripping on or holding on to each other using forces, and light has to be there. If these causes were not there, would you be able to see the pen? If the causes were not there, would you be able to see the pen? At this moment, light is hitting this pen and hitting your eye and going to your eye, right? Is it the same light that hits now than it hits now? Is it the same light ray? It isn't. Is it so? In science, we talk about how atoms are constantly moving. Heard of it? They call it Brownian motion. They say that atoms are constantly moving. Right? That's why at 0 Kelvin is when atoms stop moving. But even when atoms stop moving, the electron is still whizzing around. So right now, these atoms are moving. So there's an atom here, and light comes and hits it. It bounces back and and then you see this. Next moment, it moves over here. Are you seeing the same atom? It's moved, and then it moves back. It moves over here now. Then moves over here. Each time you're perceiving it in a different place. But then you can say, but I'm seeing the same atom, aren't I? But what is an atom? What is an atom? What makes up an atom? What makes up an atom? The question's wrong. Nothing can make an atom. What is an atom? When you have a proton, an electron, and a neutron in a certain way, we call the effect what? And then you can break this down and say, well, what is a proton? What is a neutron? What is an electron? You can break it down. So are we seeing the same pen now and now? No, we're seeing a process here, a constant process. This pen is a constant process. However, thanks to our ignorance. Thanks to our ignorance? Not the right way, isn't it? Due to ignorance, right? Ignorance meaning it's due to the wrong view, looking for this fixed feeling. Right? We know that ignorance, attachment, vexation, insanity, and da 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 da. We are now feeling that this is fixed. We are now seeing a fixed pen. That it was there before. He's been holding and talking about this random pen for the last 5-10 minutes. That fixed feeling isn't from the pen. This is why you can talk about this pen. If you have this idea of this fixed feeling, you can talk about this pen. But in reality, this pen is constantly changing. No. Not the pen is constantly changing. The constantly changingness we call a pen. So once it's gone, you can no longer perceive the pen. The pen is no longer in your perception. So in your world, it's not there. So is there a pen there? I don't know. And then if I show another pen, oh, it's a different pen now. Oh, it's now red. I have a black pen and a red pen, and we have a blue pen, right? And we have an eraser, and now we're having a fixed story. That this is what is happening. But once it's gone, in our mind, because of this fixed feeling, it's still there. Because of this fixed feeling, it's still there. But all right, for any science lovers out there, right? What's really interesting is we know they say that light, right? Light is the duality of light. Light is also a particle and a wave. We've heard this. When this pen is over here, if this is a wave, technically, you should see this. Okay. It's like this, right? You all know about black holes? We're going way off topic, but okay. In a black hole, the gravity is so great that you can see the back, so behind the black hole, because the light will bend. Let's say this, right? Okay. Can you see behind this? We can't see behind this because, take an object. You can't see behind this because, light is hitting this and bouncing back. Behind this is impossible to see because the light cannot reflect back to your eyes. But if this was a black hole, this light that's bouncing off here, because of the gravity, bends and will come to your eyes. So you can see the back of a black hole by just looking at the black hole. Same thing, if light is a wave, if it's a wave, we should always see it. But because of this illusion, right, or because of this duality, you can't, when I've hidden this pen behind it, you cannot see it. But if it was in its wave form, you would be able to see not just this pen, but all the way in the Dhamma hall, there's a small speck of dust under one of the chairs. You would be able to see that because that wave would somehow, after some time, will hit your eyes. But because of this duality nature, you can't see anything that's hidden behind anything. So when this is hidden behind in your world, can you see it? In your world, if this pen is hidden behind this eraser, in your world, can you see this pen? No. Because in your world, it's not there. But if we were to see it in its wave form, you will not just see a pen here. You will see a pen here, 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 here. Hundreds of pens. It's a good thing we can't see waves. Just imagine trying to see waves. You see hundreds of people everywhere. Not just everywhere, on the sky above as well. Would you be able to live? But light is showing that. So even the light itself is not showing you the reality. So can you believe everything you see? Because at this moment, all you have is this moment. In Pali, you call it what? Pachupanna. You only have this pachupanna, this very moment. You know, it's very hard to talk about moments. You know, our language, or language in general, is always there to talk about 2 points. On the timeline of things, there's always 2 points. You know, yesterday, today. When we talk about today, we're talking about today as in today. When we talk about even like say an object, we're not talking about this, we're talking about its lifespan. So there's this eraser, and we're talking about a lifespan. It's very hard to talk about a single point, because language is always there to talk about what? 2 points. Always talking about 2 points. See, just any sentence. The cat jumped over the lazy dog. The action of jumping has to have what? 2 points. Okay? Is this falling? 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 But if we were to connect them all together, now we can say it's falling, because we have more than 2 points. This can only fall if you say that this used to be here, now it's there. But at this moment, freeze. Is it falling? See, language is always talking about 2 points. No matter what, there's always 2 points. But in reality, the eraser that was here and the eraser that's here, is it the same eraser? Is it the same eraser? You know, this is the thing. This is very hard to see because you can't see it. You can't see it because your eyes can only tell you color. Your eyes can only tell you color. So can your eyes see an eraser here? No, it can only show you color. So this idea of eraser is in your mind. The idea of this eraser being here is also in your mind. But your mind fixes this one object and says this object fell down. But in reality, it's just one moment at a time. This is why you can't talk about Pachupanna. You can't talk about this moment. You can't talk about this moment. This is why, this is not, okay, I'm not trying to trick you by saying, okay, this is not the same thing as this. No, I'm trying to make sure, you're trying to understand that everything in this world is always what? Hetu Parisambutam. Causes come together to give a manifestation. Causes coming together to give manifestation. This is a manifestation, this is a manifestation, this is a manifestation. All three are manifestations. Are they the same though? If the causes are the same, then the effect has to be the same. But when are the causes the same? When are the causes the same? Again, when? Still 2 points. See, we are constantly it's a when we talk about anything, we are always thinking further than this moment. Today, we're gonna have a Buddha Puja, right? And the Buddha Puja, after the Buddha Puja, you're gonna go have alms. Already these images are, they're coming into your head. The Buddha Puja, there'll be a Buddha, another Swaminatha here giving Buddha Puja, and you have to walk down this path to go to have alms. You have a clear-cut idea of how the future is going to be. For example, let's say you come to the monastery and the roads change. Because due to some sort of reason, they've changed the roads. For example, let's say instead of taking this road from the Dhamma hall to the library in this way, you have to go down to the Valimalur and come up this way. Now, when you're told this, immediately you go, that's not the way. Because you've already created this fixed road that you have in your head. That this is the road you have to take. You have to go like this, then you go up the hill, and then you're there. I don't want to take this. But a road is a road. A road is a road. You've already fixed this road. You've already fixed this road. But in reality, is there a road there? You're standing here. At that moment, you're just standing there. You're now walking here. At that moment, you perceive that. You're only perceiving one moment at a time. So what part of that road is fixed? What part of the top road is fixed? You're going to buy some shoes at a shoe shop. Are there shoes in that shoe shop? Feeling-wise, we now feel what? There has to be shoes. Knowledge-wise, we now know what? Well, everything is this moment. At this moment, am I perceiving this? At the next moment, am I perceiving the next moment? This is why you can always plan and say that I'm going to come from A to B. There's a requirement for me to go from A to B. What road am I going to take? Whatever road is there. If they say, go this path, then take a right, then take a left, then take go backwards and then go forwards. If you will live one moment at a time, okay. If that's the way, okay. If they say, the road to B is closed, you can't go to B, then what do? You take the road back. Okay. Because you're not fixing either A or B or the path. You're accepting whatever comes to you. As you're going this way, there's a massive snake blocking your path. Oh no, it's a snake. Run. No, you see the snake, right? As you walk by, you see the snake. Okay. Will the snake leave? No, the snake's going to be there. Is there a road that I can take that can avoid the snake? Normally, what would happen if you don't live a moment at a time, you see a snake, you go, oh no, it's a snake. What's the snake going to do? The snake's going to bite me. If the snake bites me, I'm going to go to hospital, I'm going to lose a limb. I don't want to lose a limb, I want my legs. And you've already created a story. Even before you meet the snake, you've created the story. All you did was see a snake, you created the story, now you're scared and you run the other way. But you live a moment at a time. You see the snake, okay. You're accepting what is happening for what is happening. But you still have the idea, I want to go from A to B, that's okay. I think you know that this is also what? Cause and effect. You know that is also cause and effect. You also know that for me to perceive B, I have to be in the environment, or I have to have the causes to see B, which means walking to B. But let's say B is now not there, they've demolished this building. Now what? Okay. You're not affected. You're able to accept life for what it is. Because what is life for you now? This moment. This moment. This one. No, and then now this one. Now this one. Now this one. You can still plan ahead, knowing what? Those plans are what? Cause and effect. Now you are free. Now you are free from the stress of walking. Let's say you have to walk a mile. Walking a mile? You crazy? I can't walk a mile. Why do you feel that? Because I am walking what? The mile. In reality, what's happening? All you're taking is what? One step. And then the next one. And the next one. But if you were to fix it, you say, I've already walked, 100 kilometers. I can't walk another mile. Now what? Now you can't do it. Just accept it for what it is. Okay. Because now you're able to accept life for what it is. Okay. Your life slogan will be what? Okay. Anything. I don't mind. Okay. Do this. Okay. Do that. Okay. This is the thing. The Dhamma is always there to heal. To heal a mind from unnecessary suffering. You are living and breathing in an anichcha world, in a cause and effect world, pretending what? It's fixed. If you play pretend, the world doesn't know you're playing pretend. Right? If the world, if you were to ask the world to, for just 5 minutes be fixed, then you're not going to be suffering, but you're in a world full of cause and effect nature. Everything in the world is cause and effect. Tell me one thing in this world that's fixed. Actually, this could be fixed. But your perception is cause and effect. So it doesn't matter if the world is fixed, because you perceive what? Cause and effect. Your perception is what? Cause and effect. So we live and breathe in a world full of cause and effect, where everything is just causes coming together to give rise to an effect. Beautifully said by some of these young children. All we have to do is accept it. That's all we have to do, just accept. And say, okay. So I am aware that we have time. I do really want to keep talking about this. Maybe we no, I think there's a no. So I do really want to talk about this next week, and add to that. But I don't want you to forget about what we talked about, loneliness, right? Especially if you see someone who looks lonely, right? It could be a relative, it could be a friend, it could be someone, right, who is alone. Understand, right? Observe and understand, and help. Right? So, grandfathers, grandmothers, right, young children, like, make sure they don't feel alone. Like, when you see someone else your age alone, you always tend to help. But when you see someone older alone, we just seem to accept it. That's how it is. Because think about it. That's what we think about retirement. Once you're retired, what are you going to do? I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit back and do nothing. Of course, you can't do anything. And you're going to feel what? Alone. Loneliness. Chronic loneliness. I know so many people who are waiting to retire. Thinking retirement is a time when they can relax. No, retirement is a time where the mind feels so much mental pressure because they're by themselves. I know so many people who have told me that they don't like to be by themselves, because that means it requires them to think, and they don't like thinking. Because once they start thinking by themselves, their mind goes, the mind will travel and do whatever it can to feel this need. So if you're looking to retire, and this is not saying don't retire, but have the Dhamma. The Dhamma is the only, as far as I know, the Dhamma is the only salvation that we have. So do try understand these concepts, right? And put them and apply them to your lives. The more you apply, the more free you feel for yourself. Let's take a few moments to transfer merits and conclude today's session. Okay, let's take a moment to transfer all the merits we've acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pirit, listening to Dharma, and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. So first and foremost, let's remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of Lord Buddha's teachings. And with immense gratitude, let's chant for the Master Bhikshu, Bhikshunis, Upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teaching of the Buddha, and pass it down to the generation of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, to understand, to comprehend the Dhamma. So we'll take one chance for merits, express our gratitude to those who make great efforts to examine the teaching of the Buddha, be there by translating some and sharing them out to others, inviting others to join them. May through the power of the merits, if any of them be born in the world of planes, may they redeem themselves and be born in Buddha's plane. May by the power of the merits, may they abstain from unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's also take one chance of merits to all the members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including all chief leaders of our chapters, who have dedicated their lives to the noble path and committed themselves to the betterment of all sentient beings. Let's not forget among them will be the monks and nuns resident in local temples and nunneries, who have always been by his side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let's also take one chance of merits to Guru Sananse, as well as other monks resident at the monastery, as well as anagarikas attached to the monastery. There's also one chance of merits to our devotees, friends of the monastery, who for sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes every one of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, robes, medicines, as well as those who pass on their know-how, extend their well wishes. May the power of these merits, may they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take one chance of merits our mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, brothers and sisters, sons, daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employees, employees, and to all those who've helped us, supported us, assisted us in any shape or form. By the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical or mental ailments, may they overcome any obstacles in spiritual progress, may they abstain from unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all take one transfer merits to Devas, Brahmanas, spirits, demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddha Sasana. Let's take a moment to transfer merits to our garden deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May the power of these merits, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Take a moment to transfer merits to our ancestors who predeceased us, to all that have been friends and family to us in this even long journey in samsara. Let's all take one transfer merits to all those who lost their life in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, long-time pandemics. Reminding ourselves among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in this even long journey in samsara. May the power of the merit, if any of them be born in the willful planes, may they redeem themselves and be born in the plane. May by the power of the merits, may they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain supreme bliss Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, let's all resolve, may the power and blessing of all the merits acquired throughout the day, we bear witness the event of many hundreds of thousands of Arhat nuances, Arhat Mahin nuances in this blessed land. And finally, may the power of all the merits acquired throughout the day, you and I and everyone who made this program a success become an Arhat nuance or Arhat Mahin nuance in this very life in the era of the Gautama, Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessing of Richard be with you all. The Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginnen midetva, dvesha ginnen midetva, moha ginnen midetva, Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravitva. Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravitva. Mamada siyalu loka, siyalu satvayo. Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravitva. Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravitva. Nibbana parama sukhayin, sukita taravitva. Raga gini niveva, dvesha gini niveva, moha gini niveva, nivan sapa labeva, nivan sapa labeva. Nivan sapa labeva. Tunwange Susyananta Mahavani Belin. See Log Sil Satyam. Nibbana Pramasaking Sukataravita.